Hello everyone, this is part 4 of my pictures from the past series, in which I take old pictures from Runescape and talk about them to hopefully induce a bit of nostalgia for people who've played that long, or to just tell about the history of Runescape a little bit for those of you who weren't playing back then. So I'll get right into it. This first picture here is from Shiloh Village, of course. I suppose I was getting a Slayer task based on that I'm in Guthans. And this is one of the few pictures that I have where I've taken pictures of someone with a fire cape, because back then fire capes were very uncommon and it was pretty cool to see someone who had them. I think I've probably mentioned this before, but fire capes back then, they weren't animated in standard detail. Back then you had an option between standard detail and high detail, and I was always in standard detail, so I didn't get the animated capes, but they still looked quite cool. Yeah, I remember one day I logged in and they had animated the capes for high detail, and it was awesome because I'd had a fire cape by that point, so having it actually animated was so cool. I think it's still one of the only animated, well actually it's probably the only animated item, to be honest. I mean, there are other items that have particle effects and things, but as for the actual physical thing being animated, I believe it's still the only one, which is quite surprising. I suppose there were some technical limitations or something for them not making more of those, because it's a really cool effect. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the fire cape in this picture. Let's see. Well, for the player controls, that's the new one. I haven't talked about that yet. Now you have the walk and run and all that stuff all on the little bar by your minimap. Back then it was not quite so nice. So your walk and run were in this separate player controls tab, which now has the high detail, low detail options, your sound options, your mouse options, toggle aid, that kind of thing. Back then it was just your walk and run, your auto retaliate, your run energy, weight carried, and then your emotes. So yeah, walking and running was quite a bit more awkward back then, especially because I believe it started you off with walk as your default whenever you logged in. So whenever you logged in, you'd go and you'd click on run and then you'd start running. So that was sort of annoying. It was nice when they changed that. The weight carried doesn't really matter. People don't really check that anymore now anyway, but that's also because of the agility update, which made run energy restore a lot faster. So I didn't actually play when agility came out, but evidently the agility, when it first came out, it barely affected run energy at all. And then they did an update so it made it increase it faster. Or maybe it wasn't run energy, I'm not really sure, I didn't play then. But I know there have been two major updates that improve agility's usefulness in terms of run energy regeneration. So back then, as you can see, I'm at 11% run energy just standing there, which means that it was regenerating really slowly. And then auto retaliate on or off, it doesn't make much sense there. It's in the actual attack options menu now, which makes a whole lot more sense. And then the final thing for that tab, of course, is the emotes, and they used to actually say the names, which I thought was so much better, and I still think that makes a lot more sense. But they had to change it when they released the German worlds, because they couldn't fit in the German words for those things in the same small space. So they added in the little icons for all of the emotes. And I still sort of wish there were a toggle option on that or something, because it is sort of annoying to have all the things that you have to look at and interpret what the emote is. But I guess it's not really a whole big deal. I guess we're not doing emotes all that much. Okay, so the next picture here, of course I had to do the Zezima picture somewhere in here, and here it is. So we're at Edgeville Bank, and there are a lot of people here because it's World 66, and as I mentioned in the last video, World 66 was the law rune crafting company, so it was a very largely populated world. I guess now the main use for World 66 is the Falador riots, whenever they do an update that people don't like, and there were some of those riots back then as well, but that wasn't the main use for it. And the reason that I was in the bank, I'm 99% sure it was because I was selling runes to someone named A Dream. Also, probably to try me down there in the chat, you can see he's buying 1k blood runes for 600k, and I think they were actually more than that at one point. But I remember making a lot of money by buying the runes from Ali Morrisane in Al Kharid and then selling them to A Dream. I believe she bought Blood's Deaths and maybe a few others. I know that the bloods were used for doing the charge spell, which didn't have any cooldown at that point, so you could get insane amounts of magic experience per hour. You just spam click it. It would cost a ton, but it was incredibly fast magic experience. So I know a lot of people were buying blood runes at that point for that. This next picture, I've shown a couple of me bandits before, so just another one of these. 84 strength. The only thing to mention here really is that, as you can see, I'm using a dragon scimitar to train strength. We didn't have those nice Sarah swords or anything back then. It was just scimitars and whips for all of your training pretty much. I'm not even sure if I had a whip at this point. I probably did. I think I had one in some of the previous images. And I'm sure I have full guffins in my inventory, although I'm not showing it. Also, I'm keeping my attack strength and defense levels even, which makes me wonder, if I had a whip, why wasn't I using it on controlled there? I have no idea. This next image, I was on a farming run, I suppose, and I'm not sure whether there wasn't an option to cut down the trees, or I didn't know about it, or I just wanted the oak roots. Not quite sure why I was cutting down my oak tree there. The last image was also when I was 44 farming, so evidently I'm farming oak trees at 44 farming, which is a little sad, to be honest. I'm not quite sure what herbs I have there. I've got a Marantil in my inventory, but I'm not sure if I was farming that. I really hope not. Strawberry seeds, tomato seeds, limpworts. I've got my baskets of tomatoes, which I believe are the oak tree payment. I could be wrong on that. Not really a whole lot to say there. I guess they haven't updated the icons for seeds since whenever this was, 2006 probably. Yeah, that's pretty much it. This one, just finishing the Making History quest again. I've got the old player controls option there to turn on and off my run energy. Yeah, nothing new here as far as I can see. Here we are, another one of killing a random event. I've showed at least one of these. I think I remember there was one of killing Mr. Hyde while killing black demons earlier. I showed that maybe 1 or 2 episodes ago. I'm messaging my brother here. He says, "Tell me when you get the chain," and I say, "Right," because chains are incredibly rare. So yeah, as you can see, I'm training my range with bronze arrows at 75 range, so that was very slow. I'm not exactly sure why I have a crystal bow on me as well as having the magic short bow. Yeah, not really sure about that at all. I've got all the Oogthangi kebabs which I've picked up, and then I'm just ranging Dust Devils with my face mask on. Nothing really to say there. So on to the next one. Some more range training. I might be on a Slayer task as well here. I'm unsure of that. I'm 104 combat, 86 health, 77 Slayer. And it looks like I'm standing close to the Aberrant Spectres there. I'm not quite sure why. Because I remember in a previous one I was standing all the way back in the Bloodveld room and ranging the Aberrant Spectre through the door. Maybe I was going to pick up loot or something. Not too sure about that one. Here we are just doing the Tears of Guthix activity. 110 things of water, which I suppose I thought was a lot at the time, and maybe it was. There were a lot less quest points back then, so you could stay in for a lot shorter amount of time, and I'm sure that now when people do it they get well over 200 tears, but back then I suppose that was good. And then one more picture. This was a relatively short video. I didn't want to start on a new section of images. I just wanted to cut these ones out, and I'll do another video within a day or two probably. But anyway, another Fire Cape guy here, Super Chow, and it's at a bad angle, but it does look like he's wearing the gold Castle Wars armor, which if he is, that's quite impressive. That's, yeah, especially for back then, because Castle Wars hadn't even been out for all that long. Let's see, I've got the old image of a bucket in my inventory, which actually looks relatively high quality, so that's interesting. It looks like the herbs I was farming earlier were Ranars. I've got my Limpert roots, and as depressing as it may be, I was farming orange trees, so oranges and apples and oranges. That was very slow farming experience, I suppose. I was level 50 at this point, I believe. The picture with the Aberrant Spectres 2 images ago showed I was 50 farming, so yeah, around 50 farming, so that was quite slow. Farming was a bit of a bother back then, especially without all of the really easy teleports everywhere, although I guess it wasn't all that bad to teleport around. But anyway, that's it for this one. So just a bit of a shorter video. I do plan on doing a lot more of these, and I think I might start bringing other people in. I've got some friends who have been interested, and I'll see how that goes. So definitely subscribe if you like this and would like to see more. And yeah, that's everything. So thank you for watching, and if you're interested in these other videos, I've got some of my recent ones listed on the screen here. So that's it. Thanks for watching.